Alright, Roy, CRR News and Clues again, giving some clues here how to check this stuff. This is again the 1992 Ram 250. I think some call this a W250 because it's four-wheel drive. Both of my concerns were correct. Let's see, maybe we'll add a little light on this subject. The wheel cylinder is leaking, obviously. The shoe lining is kind of okay, but considering I won't be the person driving this, it'd probably be better to replace them. I can definitely clean them up and sand the living heck out of them if that's what's necessary. This is not necessarily brake fluid here. It's more likely to be hub oil. That seal has definitely been there a little while. I'm going to have to either pull it out with a heel bar, which some folks call a hook bar, and check that bearing, but I already know I need bearings. I'll show in a minute. But what's wrong with this picture? The thing, brakes don't apply good enough, not only because that leaking cylinder, but down here, this is supposed to be hooked to here in this brake assembly so it can adjust. It's not touching the adjuster. So as it got wear, it didn't adjust. And that's why one of the two reasons the rear brakes aren't working well. They don't have much any fluid on them from the brake fluid or hub oil, which is, this has mostly got 75 W90 conventional oil, most likely, unless it was changed. I don't know if I'm going to be pulling the cover off and changing it. It would probably be wise. It's most likely a Positrack axle, so I would have to get the stinky additive for it, and it's generally better to get it from the manufacturer, you know, through Chrysler or the actual axle builders. We've got, see, come on, Rick. See, what's this? Yeah, Timken bearings. Point of picking this is up. Here we go. It's not just oil on there, on this bearing surface. It's pitted. If the rollers are pitted, then obviously the outer race is going to be pitted. And even when you inspect, you need to take a light and check in between. Shine down in there at the inner race. If you don't see any problems, make sure and check in there too. I don't need to. It's obvious it needs bearings. The nut here that I showed in the previous video from the outside with that 2 9/16 rounded socket, these often get worn a groove in here if they're improperly adjusted, because that bearing will be walking back and forth while this is sitting still when it's up on the yoke there, axle yoke. If it's not properly adjusted, the bearing should walk back and forth a little bit, wear on this surface, especially on the bottom. Let's see. I feel a tiny bit of wear, sure enough. This, I will be using an emery cloth to smooth that up to make sure the bearing can fully adjust all the way. Same thing with that seal surface over here. That's going to have to be thoroughly cleaned. Get any grime off of that and get it cleaned up with an emery cloth or a sandpaper. Emery cloth basically is sandpaper, but it has more of a cloth backing instead of paper. It's so much more durable. It's nice to have a roll of that available. And thankfully this property came with one. Anyway, that's all for now. I'm going to be either pull this out with the heel bar as I mentioned, or flip it over onto probably just on the floor, but I'll set a rag down first to catch those bearings, especially if they were reusable. I don't want to get them all mucked up, nasty trash in them to damage them, or just dirtier, more to clean. I'm going to have to measure here. This is the reason I have no parts, because these have a few different sizes of wheel cylinders and a few different sizes of brake shoe linings and width. In order to get the right parts, the rubber brake hose that I want to replace, most people don't bother, but that's probably the original 1992 hose over there. So it's about 32 years old. It's good to replace those, especially on your calipers on the disc brakes up front, because when your tire moves, obviously that hose is having to flex. Well, guess what? This one does too every time you hit a bump. And if you put a load on it and squat it down on them overloads and so forth. So keep that in mind. And thanks for watching. If these videos will help somebody else, share them out, please. Thank you. Take care.